So for an amazing look into the ministry of Jesus Christ, we read in Isaiah that he came to the area of Galilee, Isaiah 9:6, at a time when the people of Israel, of course, were struggling. They were caught up into idolatry and things, not following the word of the Lord. It was dark there in a spiritual sense. And he says, nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as were in her vexation when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan. Notice, in the Galilee of the nations, the people that walked in darkness have seen a light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them has the light shined. And so Jesus is talking about that time in the future when he's going to come. And where was his ministry? Gosh, spent most of his time in the Galilee region, and he was a light, and also a light unto the Gentiles, as well as first the Jew there in the land of Galilee. Now we know it's talking about Jesus because when you zip down to verse 6, it says, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And on the increase of his government and peace, upon, notice, the throne of David, his kingdom, to order and establish it with judgment and justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of the hosts will perform this. Amazing prophecy, Isaiah 9:6 and 7, because the reality is, it talks about not only his first coming, his ministry in the Galilee, as mentioned in the beginning of chapter 9, but then also talks about the coming Millennial Kingdom when Jesus Christ will sit, notice, on the throne of David. Notice it's the whole compass is all around that of Israel. That's why we cannot believe in any kind of replacement theology. That's why God's promises to Israel are yes, yes, and amen, because he brought Messiah through the Jewish line, and he will also sit upon a Jewish throne in Jerusalem in the Millennial Kingdom. A lot of things happened before that. It's interesting because then when you zip to John's Gospel, chapter 14, you read, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, also believe in me. In my Father's house are many mansions, and if it was not so, I would have told you. And I go and prepare a place for you. And when I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and bring you unto myself. Beautiful picture of what is considered and called the Galilean wedding. Now notice, Galilee was a place where he spent most of his time ministering. And what illustration does he use there in John chapter 14? He uses that of a Galilean wedding. First of all, the groom would go with his parents to the bride and their parents out at the gate of the city where the judges were, where people would be gathered, and that's where the betrothal, the promises and the betrothal will be given. And so the promises made, technically they are married in a sense, but they don't come together for, well, approximately a year. And so that's the betrothal. What does the bridegroom do? He goes to his father's house. He gets materials and things, and he starts building on his father's house a little suite, or maybe a house for him and his new bride that's coming. What does she do? She goes and prepares herself. She gets the wedding gowns. She gets all prepared. She gets the oil. She gets her lamps, and she waits for that year. And especially when we come to that end of that year, she doesn't know the day or the hour. And in fact, nobody knows. Even the son doesn't know. Isn't it interesting? But the father himself tells the bridegroom, when everything's prepared, when he's built his quarters for him and his new bride and everything else, he says he waits for his dad to tell him. They might wait, who knows how long. And then finally the dad says, okay, go get your bride. And it's so amazing because that's exactly the way it is. You know, we don't know the day or the hour. And Jesus is going to come as a thief in the night. That's why, you know, certainly the bride needs to have her oil lamps, and she needs to have them trimmed, and she needs to have plenty of oil. Doesn't know when. She has to keep those lamps burning, you see, for her groom to come and call her to the wedding. And that is the beautiful thing. That is what we see here. Don't let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, also believe in me. My Father's house are many mansions. You know, I go and prepare a place for you, my bride. I'm not going to allow you to go through the time of the wrath, you see. I'm going to rapture you out of here before the wrath happens. Now, there in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 9 and 10, it says that the bride, we are not, talking about the church, the bride, we are not appointed to wrath, but to obtain salvation, you see. And we know that in Revelation, in chapter 6 of Revelation, first of all, we know, when does the wrath of God begin? It begins with the first opened seal. And the only one that can open that seal is Jesus himself, who is God the Son. Nobody's worthy to open up that seal. So he literally opens up what? He opens up the wrath that's going to happen for the next 7 years. We're not appointed to that wrath. And by the way, what husband would allow his bride to go through the wrath of God? Nobody. No. And then we know that also later on, it says in chapter 6 as well, is they're hiding, those that are still on the earth are hiding themselves from the wrath of the Lamb. You see, we're not appointed to wrath. It's a beautiful thing. Jesus is coming back very soon. As you notice, the climate of everything, we don't know the day or hour. He comes as a thief. Yes, indeed. Nobody knows the day or hour. Only the Father knows. That's true. But we do know the season. Look at that there in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and 5, and especially in 5. You know, the them and the theys, talking about the church and talking about the people on the earth. It's so clear. Pre-tribulational rapture. It's beautiful. It's all wrapped around that man from Galilee. He spent most of his ministry there, and that's why he talks about a Galilean wedding. Study it. Look into that Galilean wedding and then compare it to scriptures. Compare it to John chapter 14. You will be amazed. And he's coming for us soon. I hope you're ready. I hope you have Jesus Christ in your heart and you're ready, because our King, our husbandman, is coming for the bride. Be ready.